Hello dear chess friends and welcome to our new video. In that video I will present game Vasily Smyslov won in 1946 with black pieces against Igor Bondarevsky, two titans of 40s of last century, and you'll see young Smyslov so convincingly led game and won in a perfect style. RUY LOPEZ was the chosen opening, and after e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, a6, bishop moves back, knight f6, castling, and bishop e7. And now, with a spending time to play bishop a4, now white plays bishop c6. I think that cannot be good advice, but white wanted to use the fact after d takes c6, black must spend time to protect pawn e5. If white wanted to play this, d3 would be better choice because he needs a rook on f1. Later he would be able to open f-file with f4. Rook e1 is not so common move. Black played knight d7, and after d4 we achieved first key position in our game. White is practically pawn up because black has double pawn on the queen side, and black cannot easily create passed pawn on the queen side. But as you can see, that defect of pawn structure can be convincingly compensated with powerful black bishop pair. And with his next move, black starts activating his bishops. Knight c5. Black pretends to set knight on ultra important blocking spot e6. Maybe it is not looking so blocking, but you will see soon his point. Also, he attacks the queen. He is ready to get tempo with knight e6, and white decided in that moment to take on d8 because black is practically forced to take with bishop. White with the bishop taking with rook will rook will cost black a pawn c7. So black takes with the bishop, knight c3, and now we can see black played amazing move f5. So why is that amazing move? First of all, let's remind that black has bishop pair, and in such situation, if you have bishop pair against pair of knights or against bishop and knight, you should insist in opening the position. Black does not have good spot for his bishop c8 because he predicted to put knight on e6, and instead of playing b6 c5, which can be so long-term maneuvering, so black directly decided to open position with f5. Also, black rook now acts as submarine against that bishop on f4, and white played, I think, probably automatically e5, which is horrible positional mistake. So why it's horrible positional mistake to get passed pawn to block the position if you have knight against opponent bishop? You'll see very soon. The point e5 is terrible positional mistake. The point is that pawn restricts 3 white pieces, and also the point is that pawn on e5 would be separated from white rest of queenside pawns. So if that is mistake, what should be played? Well, there is given some nice variation could lead to some balanced, or let's say equality. After bishop g5, white would be able to exchange the bishop, and after that, that variation is shown as potentially equal. Well, after bishop g4, rook e3 leads to draw. Black can just take that knight, and position is equal. Both sides will have some crashed majorities and won't be able to create passed pawn. So instead of that, white allowed terrible positional mistake e5, and you will see the most important is to have harmony in your army, and after e5 white will lack exactly this. Now if it is white turn, he will play bishop g5 with huge advantage, having passed pawn and better knight against opponent bishop. but it is black's move and he plays knight e6. And that is one of the best knights you can see in chess publications and in chess bases. That is extremely amazing knight, and that knight does not only blocks the pawn, also by blocking that pawn, knight paralyzes pieces which are protected by protecting that pawn. So as you can see, that knight also will put pressure on white pawn f4 if white manages somehow to play f4. But now the most precise move black could play is g5. Absolutely brilliant and amazing play by Smyslov. Reason number one to play this is to prevent white f4 in some good moment, but there is also even more important reason not to play this. Having white right to move, he will definitely go for knight e2, and next move will be for sure knight d4 or knight f4. By playing like this, white will be able to eliminate black blockaders. So always try to eliminate opponent knight blocking your passed pawn. By g5, black prevents that, because after knight e2, which happened in the game, black would be able to play c5. White knights cannot use squares d4 and f4, and thus black knight is perfectly safe on e6. Safe on light spot, white has dark square bishop, and as you can see, since that moment, black is absolutely dominant on the board. Pawn e5 is rather weak than dangerous one, and you will see convincingly how black will somehow surrounding squeezing white's position more and more, advancing pawns on the flanks. Side having bishop pair should open the position. That's postulate number one. Postulate number two can be side having bishop pair against knight pair or against bishop knight should gain space. Black did it by playing c5 and g5. Black will do it again and again, as you will see. And third important principle or postulate for side having bishop pair advantage is that if you have bishop pair advantage against opponent bishop and knight, mostly you should put your pawns on opponent bishop collar. On opponent bishop collar, and that's exactly black did by setting pawns on c5 and g5. Now you can see white has knight on light squares, bishop on dark squares, and all white pieces are paralyzed. Some squares like c4, like d4, f4, h4, e5, b4, g5, all that squares are taken, and white minor pieces are perfectly restricted here. White tried with bishop c3, but now black is consistent. b5, white to hesitate. So b5, bishop goes to b7. Knight stays on e6 forever. b3, bishop b7. Now white retreats, moving knight there. Now, of course, black can take on f3 to harm pawn structure, but white to go for this. As we can see, white idea of playing knight g3 can be knight h5, knight f6. But that knight so deep in opponent's territory would be not dangerous at all. The most important position for knight is a black dominating spot on e6. White knight on f3 works nothing. White knight on g3 can be transferred on f6, but remember, knight should be placed in front of opponent's pawn, not behind deeply in opponent's territory. Black played g4. This knight must go back. Bishop e7 with idea to occupy d file. Knight h5, king f7, all that is very normal. And unfortunately for white, he cannot easily install knight on f4. If white plays g3, there will be for sure bishop g5, I think. And later, black will dominate even on d file. So, knight f1 was happening in that position. King g6, excellent, forcing white to decide what to do with knight. And after knight f6, now knight won't be able again to occupy the square f4. Now black just goes for rook a d8, rook d1, opening with opposing to opponent on the file, and now black just eliminates major pieces rook d8, and knight e3. White once again allowed mistake. Knight e3 is not good move, but here already white is strategically just lost. He is completely outplayed. Black has idea even of taking knight f6, playing knight d4 after that, and take pawn on f6 for free. It's just one of possibilities. Of course, another and more danger is ability to play bishop e4 in some good moment. So zero harmony in white camp, complete inability to organize anything. White tried with knight e3 to protect c2 in advance, but powerful Smyslov strike just crashes all white plans. f4. Now taking the pawn would lead to losing that knight after h5, so knight must retreat, and of course bishop f6. The fourth principle, the fourth postulate of having bishop pair against opponent bishop and knight is ability to exchange easily one of bishops for opponent bishop or opponent knight, with idea to transfer position to some other position you can easier use to realize the huge positional advantage. Now black eliminates controller of square e4, and after this, of course, bishop e4. Pawn c2 will fall, bishop e2, but very fine move again. Black decided not to take because knight can escape, so knight c3, black just played b4 here. f3 and bishop c2 attacking the knight, knight f2, normally gf, and bishop b1. Knight e4, white tries to organize something, but as you can see, black knight dominates, controlling everything. Looks like black bishop may face problems after knight d2, but that's an illusion. After simple a5, black can play either a4 or c4 easily, rescuing that bishop. King f2, but the simplest is knight d4, and as you can see, dear chess friends, Smyslov perfectly calculating anything. Everything was precisely calculated by Smyslov. Yes, bishop d4, c takes, king e2, king f6, king d3, king e5. Now king c4 loses after a4. So many pawns. White is so many pawns behind, and so many pawns down. Yeah, king c2. The plan is maybe to play king b2, but again a4, bishop escapes. After this, just c5, a5, once again perfectly calculated by Smyslov, c4, and after a6, d3. Direct play, black is just faster. His next move is c3 with bishop d5. If white plays this, just black wins, because there will be ability for black to win the game. There is not draw with perpetual, just soon mating with b3, king b2, this, and after that queen will be lost. So after d3, black is evidently faster, and white exactly in that moment decided to resign the game. What I want to say is to remind you about f5 amazing move. The fastest way to activate black pieces to accelerate development, and simply conventional move e5 is just a terrible mistake. So white blocks the position, having knight against the bishop, but the point is black knight is dominating on the e6. White cannot find even one single outpost for his knights, and as you can see, even black will bishop now at the moment passive will work perfectly after few moves. Just see black bishops in that moment. So brutal domination on both flanks. He who controls center better can play on both wings, and as you can see, black used that principle to determine his approach of advancing on both sides. Dear chess friends, I hope you enjoyed that video, and once again you could see that simply analyzing classic games does not have an alternative, because, you know, in 40s and 50s of last century, games were based on logic and the normal and common chess postulates, not on decisions made by engines and computers. So I wish you to implement principles you, I hope, learn from that game in your future career, and I hope also you will enjoy in our next videos. See you soon. Bye bye.